Great. Then, guys, let's start. So, hi everyone. From today itself, we'll be starting with the Cortex XSOAR as a training session. This training session will be an approximately for 10 to 12 hours. In this, we'll be understanding what is XSOAR, why XSOAR is required in the industry, and primarily what makes Cortex XSOAR stand out from the other vendors, how you can implement the tasks which are manually being done by the SOC analyst or by anyone, how you can implement that into the automation tasks, what all different automation tasks are there, how you can process that, and moreover you'll be understanding both how we can suffice the requirement of a SOC analyst and also how we can suffice the requirement of someone who is at a bigger position, maybe the CISO, CIO, this kind of people. So before we could start, let me share the agenda for this training. Let me share my screen. Guys, just confirm if you can see my screen, guys.
Yes,
Guys, can you see my screen?
yes,
Yes.
it's visible.
Okay. So our domain one primarily would be to understand what is source. So wherever I mention, okay, just before we could start the session, whatever questions you have, please have a notepad in your hand. Whatever questions you have, please take a note of it. In the last 15 minutes is where we are going to do last 10 to 15 minutes. We're going to do a discussion on whatever questions you have uh, regarding this tool and others and anything in and around of that. So I wouldn't be able to take any questions in between because I have a flow of topics which I want to discuss with you guys. So take a note pen or where a digital or a physical one. Just take your questions, put up your pointers. In the last 10-15 minutes, I'll do an open mic to everyone so that you guys can raise your queries. So primarily we have uh, three to four domains where we want to discuss regarding SOAR as a whole. So wherever while these sessions, wherever I mention XOR, it only means Cortex XOR, precisely because Cortex XOR again and again I could fumble. So XOR is X. Whenever I say XOR, it would be just Cortex. So first we want to understand what SOAR is. So we're going to start today with the SOAR as a technology, what it stands for, why, what makes it stand out these days. What does SOAR consist of? So this SOAR itself is an acronym. The real you can say the long form of this is different. So we can understand each and every letters meaning as well. What makes it SOAR? Base of what makes SOAR so helpful is what kind of integrations can we have and benefits of SOAR in today's talk. So this would be one of your questions, which would be really making you keen to understand what is this. You have learned, I believe, you learned as ArcSight or Splunk, and then you might have learned DNSS as well. You might have learned the CrowdStrike ATR as well. So, what makes this stand out than the other tools, as well as not these ones, but as compared to overall, what are the other tools which makes you guys stand out? So in the domain two is where we are going to discuss how you can play with the data. So data, whatever you feed into the XOR, how will you be able to play the data? So data, the XOR is termed as context. There is no difference. Just to give you a brief, I apologize for the words I use. So in the north, whenever you eat golgappa, in when you go to the east towards the east of India, you have puchka, and whenever you go towards the western and the southern side, you have pani puri. So all are same, just different names. So whenever you play with the data, when you play with the inputs in the SOAR, those are termed as context data. So we are gonna see that as well. How to feed in the inputs, the outputs, and how to see the results. What are tasks, playbooks. So just here as of now, all the topics would be new for you, so please don't get confused. I'm just giving you a brief of what all you guys would be learning. We would also be going through all these different types of playbooks. What are playbooks? We're gonna go in detail in that as well, and like what are manual, what are automated, what are conditional ones, how you're gonna do that. So all this we are gonna discuss in the domain two. Domain three, this would be a part of domain two itself. Domain three, different. What are war rooms? What are layouts? What are jobs? So just to give you a brief, war room is like you might have seen in the movies, right? Where they go, let's discuss something in the war room. So war room means nothing but a place, a conference room where uh, people from different departments sit together and tackle an issue. So in XOR, war room is nothing but interactive, you can say, terminal in which is a part of every playbook, wherein you can execute commands, tag people. For example, yes, you are a SOC analyst and you want some verification from the EDR team. So instead of raising a ticket into maybe ServiceNow or Jira or any ITSM tool or dropping an email, you can just tag the user in the war room, and they will come and add their input. So it is a place where multiple people can be added. You can perform checks. You can check whether this user is present or not using your commands and everything. It's like a terminal which is present. Layouts is a part of a dashboard, uh, as in we would be saying, uh, for example, if I say that I want X layout, so I want the severity to be on the number 4 line, or maybe severity on number 2 line. If the username is present, then it should be somewhere in the right hand side of the page. So side of a how you want the you can say an incident which is created to look like. So layout is nothing but visual representation of the information you want to be displayed upon. So we want to discuss that as well. Uh, since you guys almost all are 1 to 2 years experienced in this industry, you might have guys heard about cron jobs. Cron is nothing but if you want to perform an action on a periodic manner, others are called as crons. So the same way, uh, that the job is nothing but called as is in the SOAR. So whenever you hear jobs, is well, if you let's say if you want some action to occur periodically. If I give an example, let's say for example, I want to maybe send my manager every day at 9 a.m. the status of all high severity incidents. So if let's say if I go manually, I'll have to log in. First step number two, download. Step number three, sort by the severity. Step number four, attach that in the email or Teams and send it to him. So this 4 to 5 steps are there. With the job, I can just do in one step is where I can define what is a cron, what is a periodic frequency, and just run a playbook. The playbook will extract the indicators with the severity, send an email to the your manager. So that's a one task is where we're gonna do jobs. Field triggered uh, is where it's a job only, but the periodic frequency I mentioned, right? It is more of a time wherein you mentioned a time 3 a.m., 4 a.m., once in a week, once in 3 months, every third Saturday, third Sunday, some kind of these things. Field triggered is where you mention that if this field is changed, then only run a playbook. So we're gonna have a look on that as well, why it is important. Pre and post processing script is where if any update needs to be done or any data modulation needs to be done before the playbook could execute and after the playbook could execute, that is done here. We're gonna go through all this stuff. So just giving you a brief. I'm going to share this. Okay. Let me start with the first topic, which is what is SOAR. So my SOAR stands for security, orchestration, automation, and response. So remember, if I want to brief in SIM, if you take any SIM solution, you have use cases, correlation rules. So what do you do in SIM? You configure whatever is the log source you want to send as the data is saved, and as per the rules or whatever use case you have configured, the incidents are created. So here the log source is coming from outside. The SIM here is only responsible based on the correlation rules. It will trigger an incident. Let's say example of EDR. EDR receives the telemetry data. Telemetry as in file execution, registry, file change, or any malicious file being run, network connections. All this is collected by your EDR agent, pushed onto our EDR console. That could be CrowdStrike or any other vendor, and then accordingly perform actions. In SOAR, there is in SIM we had use case. In your CrowdStrike you have analytics or rules, anything. In SIM there is nothing kind of this. The reason SOAR, uh, apologize, the reason SOAR is that it makes your task automated. So one of the biggest reason why everyone is looking for SOAR is to reduce MTTR. So MTTR stands for mean time to resolve. So this MTTR is really, really important when it comes to any high or critical severity incidents. Because let's say if my one of my machines is compromised, I like to isolate that, perform an investigation, involve the necessary teams, inform the management, and a lot of things. So here this from isolation to final resolution, the time required may take maybe 2 3, maybe I don't know, minimum it will take is 24 hours to fix the issue. But with SOAR you can same achieve within less than 1 hour, and that's what is the main thing of MTTR. So when I say security, you can integrate any kind of log. When I say any, means any. So you can start with WAF, firewall, proxy, or AD, your email solution. Email will include your email gateway, email detections, or everything. Then you have EDR. Sorry, you have EDR, and then what all devices you have your network switches. You name it, and you have it. Let's say, for example, uh, you are looking for some integration. It is not present in the XOR. What it provides is it provides something called as BYOI as well.
हाँ दिल्ली बोल बोल भाई तेरा फोन है तो
Please, can everyone be on mute, please? So the main thing which makes Cortex XSOAR stand out against other source solution like Phantom and you have Chronicle as well is something called as BYOI. So most of the times, whatever integrations you are looking for is present in the XOR itself. You just need to have an internet connection to download from the XOR marketplace. I'll show you what is a marketplace. But let's say if you don't have the integration and you want it, maybe let's say it could be your in-house application or maybe proprietary to your organization. Something called as BYOI, which means bring your own integration. Now, how do you achieve this bring your own integration is the only, I would say, mandatory skill is you need to know Python coding. Most, let's see, you guys are going for the analyst role, so you guys are not expected. The ones who are, SOAR developers or SOAR admins, those need to have the Python language experience. But I'm just giving you an example that if you don't have any integration, can still create your own integration in the XOR. And today I'm going to show it to you where you can see this. So something called as BYOI. When it comes to orchestration, is where you can manage the actions, what input you should take, what output you should send, how you can process the data. So when it comes to SIM solution, you don't have that level of control on how your use case will trigger. You might have a condition that, let's say for example, a user called as Harish, login attempt of 5, time duration in a specific region. So to detect that anomaly or the freedom, I would not say freedom, the visibility to have the control on how you want to, tune or shape that tool to your requirement is not feasible in any of the tools you could see. But in SOAR, that can be achieved by the orchestration. So when I say orchestration is where you would be able to define, let's say if I have have integrated my email solution, which is my Office 365. In Office 365, all the logs have a field called as type. What is my email type? What is my email type? So source solution should not be bombarded with all the types. So as I mentioned, mean time to resolution should be the least. So mean time to resolution would be the one which is having severity of critical and high. So what I will do is in the SOAR, before it could come inside the SOAR, I will do a filtration on the SOAR itself that if my log source is Office 365, severity is higher critical, then only allow or else drop the events. So by this, what we'll do is the main agenda of one second. The main agenda of having the SOAR is to be able to tackle the critical and the very high severity incidents, and that feasibility is what we achieve by using the orchestration. When I say automation, that's what it means. This that's what it is. It is making it stand out. The third pillar of this meaning is automation. Whatever actions you perform manually, those actions are automated in every possible way. And definitely we're going to see how you can automate those things, what all different things we have in place as well. And when I say response, let's say for example, um, I hope everyone knows virus total. So virus total is a open source threat intelligence wherein I can take any IP URL domain. If I paste there, it will give me the results. So let's say for example, I've got some IP. My manager told me that, hey Kunal, this is the IP. Check the verdict. If it is malicious, go and block it. So if let's say if you do it manually, step number one, you take the IP. Step number two, you paste it on the virus total. Step number three, you search for the verdict score. Let's say in virus total, you are given the number of vendors who have marked malicious. Let's say for example, you have 62 vendors. Out of which, let's say your manager tells anything above 50% is malicious. So step number three is where you will find out the score. Step number four, you will uh, and he has asked to block on the firewall. Step number four, you take the IP, log in into the firewall. Step number five, you block it. You add to the block list. Step number six, you commit. Step number seven, the actions are done. So here seven different steps are there. But when it comes to SOAR, I can all do it as a part of one single playbook. I need to feed in the IP. I can use the virus total API automation to enrich. By enriching, I mean I will send the IP to the virus total and get the relevant details related to that IP address. Once I get the details of the IP address from the virus total, uh, based on the results of the virus total, I will send the IP to the firewall to block it. So this is what my response is. Whenever on on a decision of something, if I'm going and blocking or isolating, so technically it is any action which you perform, response action, as we mentioned in the incident response, we perform response actions. So nothing but these response actions can be automated completely. So this is what SOAR includes. Uh, More than that, so just to give you a brief of what SOAR be beneficial, you can integrate almost everything. You take any threat intelligence, any SIEM solution, any EDR solution, any network that will have firewall, proxy, WAF, all these details, and you might also include any I mentioned ITSM tools as well, right? So in and out, almost everything you can integrate with the SOAR. So let me show you the console first, how it looks like and how we are gonna have a look. So
So Manu, I just have one question. Can you just repeat orchestration? I didn't get it properly.
okay, so what happens in orchestration is, for example, let's say you have something called as Office 365, which is an email solution. And in email solution, you whatever emails are being received in an organization, those are being tracked at the O365 admin center. So let's say if I want any response actions to be performed for any high or uh,
Can
critical
you have
severity.
different example? I'm not getting this example. Yeah.
One second. So I'll do one more thing. O365. You are well aware about EDR, right? You know EDR, CrowdStrike EDR.
Yes.
You worked upon. Yeah. So let's say, for example, you have a zero-day attack in the CrowdStrike EDR. So in zero-day attack, what will the EDR do is it will uh, detect the incident, but there is no response actions. For example, a file is being executed. There is a zero-day attack which the CrowdStrike might have an intel about. It will only terminate the incident or it terminate that process. But what you want is you want to know whether this is being happened across my tenants. What is the response actions to be performed? So these response actions are more of a manual thing and not of an automated thing. So when I say is in orchestration, you can filter out what events you want to work upon and what events you don't want to work upon. So in a zero day, definitely the severity would be really really high. For high severity incidents, you want to perform the response action in a more faster way. So what all events you can filter out, what all actions you can perform, the freedom or the transparency to perform response actions, automations, what should come in, what should not be allowed into the SOAR, or the control over the tool is being achieved using something called as orchestration. I'm going to show it to you how it is.
Okay.
Let me, guys, show you the console. One second, guys. I have to log in. One second. Yes.
So Manu,
Guys,
can I
please
just
confirm.
oh, I'm so sorry. I just can I just say like orchestration is like, let's say we got an alert related to malicious IOC detected, and
I'm going
then
to explain that. I'm going to explain that. Just hold for a minute. I'm going to explain each and
okay.
everything. I got your point. It's most of the people get confused about orchestration. I'm going to show you everything and everything. Just guys confirm if you can see my screen, guys.
Visible, yeah.
Yes, sir. Visual.
Great, great. So this is an XOR tenant. This would be your bread and butter. This is what you're gonna revolve around. So I'm gonna just give you a brief of everything. So let's start with something called as marketplace. Whatever integrations we want to download or to access, all are present in a marketplace. It is nothing but like your Amazon, Mintra, Nika, or whatever you name it. All those whatever cards you have, the same way you have a marketplace. These scripts or these automations are nothing but Python scripts based on API. XOR mainly works on API based because for request and response, if you want to pull something, if you want to respond that back, you need to have an API support. All these codes or all these integrations are written in Python code. It's not important for you guys to know. It's not important for you guys to know how the code is written. Whenever you get the access, you can have a view just for your reference. But if someone asks you which is the Python code is being used, is we used something called as Python 3.7 and the primary class. So in Python, there's something called as class, which is like sort of a syntax template, and the syntax template name is something is called as demisto. I'll just type the word here. Is called as demisto. Let me see if I have any code in place. So whatever codes are written are all in the demisto itself. So uh, yeah. So this is a QRadar integration, okay? And if you see here, right? So demisto, wherever you see it's demisto error, demisto arguments, demisto this, demisto that. So all these are a part of demisto class. And so the name of the XOR, so primarily XOR belonged to a company called as Demisto, which created this automation. And once this got hold of the market, is where Palo Alto decided to buy it out. And post it is being bought out, it is now under the complete ownership, and all rights are reserved by the Palo Alto itself. So Demisto is the previous name, and then now, or since the code remains the same, so all the what you could say codes, Python codes are designed in the uh, in the Demisto class itself. So this is my marketplace where you have all the possible integrations. This is, let's say, if you are not able to get any integrations, then this is the place where you have to come upon. For this to install, you need to have the internet connection to xor.pan.dev. It is if the company doesn't allow the open internet connection, then you need to have a few APIs are there that needs to be allowed on your network to be allowed to access. Let's say, for example, I go for a CrowdStrike. I think so. CrowdStrike is stored. Yeah, so I have CrowdStrike, Falcon, Sandbox, each and everything. Uh, I have Virus Total. One second. Virus Total. Just need to click this, install, and do everything. So let me give you a brief. Since everyone might have used somewhere or the other down the line Virus Total, I'm going to show it to you. So whenever you install any package, everyone please be on mute. I'll take questions at the last. Once you install a package, you will see that here in this section called as integration instances. You can have multiple integration instances, multiple as in, let's say, uh, you have firewall, let's say Palo Alto firewall. A company can have one, a company can have 10. So how do you configure? So you can just keep on, adding instances here. So you can add multiple instances, but the only thing is the name should be different. The name can't be the same. And you can have as much instances as you want. So just to show you virus total, and please be on mute. So just to show virus total, how you can configure. So let's say if you have a free account and you log in into that, you have something called as API keys. So to the best of my knowledge, the free account API key supports 500 lookups. So by lookups, I mean if I send an IP from my XOR to VirusTotal for any enrichment, again, whenever I say enrichment, okay, fetching the data from any threat intel is called as enrichment. So I think so 500 is the allowed, and for a premium, I think so you can have more than 500. So whenever you see the red icon, red you can say star like an icon, those are like important fields. So here I'll have to put the API. I'm gonna come on source library as well. So someone asked me a question that what do I mean by orchestration? So if you see here, for malicious, file suspicious, IP malicious, and IP suspicious. If anyone has ever looked on VirusTotal, you get scores. Let me show that as well. VirusTotal. Sure, I'll just take BitTorrent. Okay. Okay. Now here if you see, 94 is the count of the vendors. If you see here, right? All these vendor counts is 94. And 0 means none of them have marked them as flagged as malicious or whatever you need to say here. So file suspicious, file malicious, IP suspicious. Before I could go deep in this, in XOR, we have 4 different kinds of indicator verdict. I repeat, in XOR, we have 4 different kinds of indicator verdict. First is unknown, which means that if an IP is sent to VirusTotal, it is giving me no results. It's unknown. Second is good. Good means there is no malicious thing found. Third is suspicious, which means it is not a big impact, but could be a possible. Fourth is bad or malicious. So unknown, good, suspicious, bad or malicious. These 4 are different verdicts of the XOR. Now the question arises that every threat intel, you take it VirusTotal, Abuse IP, Malware Bazaar, URL host, all of these are different threat intel sources. All these have different mechanisms or different parameters to mark something as malicious. Now VirusTotal has something called this vendors marking them. In URL host, you have a score, a suspicious or a malicious score you have. So how do you map those threat intels, decision parameters into XOR is by using this. And this is nothing called as orchestration. The freedom for you to tune in how you want the verdict to be done. So the first thing here is file malicious threshold 10. What does this mean? If any file hash is looked up in VirusTotal, and if minimum of 10 vendors, I repeat, if minimum of 10 vendors mark it as malicious, then that file hash would be marked as malicious in the XOR. If it is 9, no. If it is between 5 to 9, if you see the second one is, it will go as suspicious. Anything below 4 will be good. If it is 0, unknown. I'll repeat again. File malicious threshold is 10, which means any value or any vendors marking file hash as malicious is more than 10, then that file hash would be marked as malicious. If the number of vendors marking a file hash as malicious in the VirusTotal is between 5 to 10, then that will be marked as suspicious in the XOR. Anything between 1 to 4, 1 to 5, would be marked as good, and the one which is 0 means nothing has been detected will be unknown. The same logic will be applied for IP as well. Same for URL and same for domain as well. Now, if you go into maybe your SIM solution or anything of that sort, it will automatically take, it will, you don't have a decision whether how should I map those things in the SIM, or the decision that if I want to change this to, let's say 20, I can easily do that. If I want to change this to maybe 90, 95, I can absolutely do that. So this, as I mentioned, the transparency or the freedom to tune the integration the way we want, so that this tool becomes, follows all the configuration terminologies and everything as per the organization, that could be achieved using this configuration, and there's nothing called as orchestration itself. I'm going to come to source library in one moment. Meanwhile, let me show you the other configurations. Uh, all these are part of premium, so I won't stretch too much. Okay. Now, what is source reliability? Let's say, for example, that you have virus total, URL host, and domain MX. So all these three help me in performing a domain enrichment. Okay. So let me keep like this. Okay. So I have virus total, I have URL host, and I have domain MX. There is a there's a domain, for example, called as abc.com. Okay. I sent it to virus total for enrichment. I sent it to URL host for enrichment, and I sent it to domain MX for enrichment. Now, let's say that the virus total has given me a verdict, given after everything, mapping and everything. Virus total after the virus total's score, it is good. For URL host, it is bad, and for domain MX, let's say it is good. So again, virus total is good. Yes. Let me jump on to the PPT again so that I guess. Jump. Okay. So as I mentioned, I have an IP address. Sorry, I have a domain, right? Sorry. I have a domain. I have a domain called as abc.com, and I have virus total. I'm abbreviating that as VT. I have URL host, and I have domain MX. I have sent these to all these three for enrichment, and post enrichment and after the scoring, everything is done. This is giving me a bad verdict, giving me a good verdict. This is giving me, let's say, a suspicious verdict. Now, always remember, in XOR, the worst verdict is taken into consideration, which means out of these three, my bad is the worst verdict. So I had explained a minute ago, it is bad, suspicious, good, and unknown. And this is how, the higher you go, the what you can say, the malicious content or malicious attribute is more. So I have bad, good, and suspicious. Now, what XOR will do is, if it has multiple verdicts, the bad verdict or the worst verdict is taken into consideration. So here, among good, bad, and suspicious, bad will be the final verdict of abc.com. Let's say, for example, this is unknown. Sorry for my handwriting, guys. This is unknown. Now, out of unknown, good, and suspicious, my suspicious is the worst verdict, and the verdict of abc.com will be suspicious. Same way, let's say if I change this to maybe good, for example. Now I have unknown, good, good. So out of unknown and good, my worst verdict is good. So the final verdict would be taken into consideration as abc.com. This much I hope you have understood, that if it is such a kind of a thing, then the worst verdict would be taken. Now, what do you mean by source reliability? So source reliability is nothing but how much do you trust that Intel source? So many companies have kind of a trust, a few, you can say, open source or proprietary ones or commercial ones that they trust, maybe Aristotle or Darktrace or many other threat intel sources. So the reliability will come into picture if there are same verdict and the reliability will be taken into consideration. For example, I'll take this as suspicious. Now let's say my reliability starts with A and it will go to A, B, C, D, E, F. I'm going to show in the drop down section how it is. So let's say, for example, as I mentioned, A would be the most reliable and F will be the least reliable. Okay. And I am mentioning again, reliable means how much do you trust the source, that whatever verdict it gives, you trust it. If it's telling me malicious, irrespective others are giving me anything, I will trust that. If it is giving me suspicious, I will trust that. So whatever is the verdict, if the other is giving me good or unknown, I will trust the source. So for example, I have A here, and let's say C here and D here. So A reliability, C reliability, and D reliability. Now, even though the which I explained, which the concept I explained before is XOR will take the worst verdict. Here, A is all A having the source reliability of the worst total. It will be taken into consideration. Let me change the scenario in one moment. Let's say this is good, and I'll mark this as suspicious. Now, question arises, will the worst verdict logic will work, or the reliability will take the priority? So always remember, reliability will always take the priority over the worst verdict logic. I repeat, reliability will always take the control over the worst verdict logic. Apologize. So if we go by the worst verdict logic, the output or the verdict of this abc.com should have been suspicious. But because of the source reliability, my virus total is considered to be the most reliable one, and hence the verdict here would be good. I'll repeat again the scenario. If we go with the worst verdict logic, the output of this condition should be suspicious, because among good, suspicious, and good, suspicious is my worst verdict. But remember, if you have set the source reliability, it will take the priority. So here, even though my suspicious is given by URL host, but it is having reliability of C. But my virus total is A, which I trust the most. My final verdict would be good. Now, condition might ask, what will happen if multiple threat intel sources have same reliability? Let's say virus total is A and domain MX is A. In that scenario, the worst verdict logic will work. If you have same reliabilities for multiple threat intel sources, then the worst verdict logic will work. But if you have for a given indicator, okay, so for a given indicator, you have second. Let me change pen color for a bit more visibility. Guys, confirm if you can see the blue color. I'm not sure it's a bit lighter for me. Can you guys see the blue color? Which I'm just writing.
Yes, yes, you can
Yes,
see
sir.
people.
It's visible, right? Okay.
Yes, yes.
So yeah. So for a given indicator, let's say whatever threat intel sources are there, the first priority would be given to source reliability. Whatever, if there are multiple source reliabilities, then the one which is having the highest reliabilities verdict is taken into consideration. In this scenario, I'll have to change this to explain. D. In this scenario, A is for virus total. Even though my URL host is giving me suspicious, the verdict would be only good. But if I have same source reliability, then the worst verdict logic will work. So let's say if I have A and A, then it would be suspicious. Sorry for the spelling, guys. Second, let me jump onto the screen again. Okay. So guys, now we're gonna take a 5 minutes break. We're gonna come back, and what we're gonna start something one of the most critical topics called as Cortex XSOAR incident life cycle. And if you understand this life cycle, guys, your 90% work is done for the XSOAR. So whatever questions you have, take a note of it, keep it handy. So if I say the time right now is 9:18, we will start by 9:25, and we are gonna go till 10:15, and from 10:15 we'll have questions. Okay.
Hello, sir.
Hey, hi everyone.
Yeah, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so what will be like if our precedence is like say for virus total it is A, and for other tool it
I'll
is
take questions. I'll take questions as the last. We have 15 minutes, guys. I
where
have
what
been strictly asked. Yeah. Because see, if I take in between that, my flow will break. That's the reason.
yeah, but we
And
can forget these questions then. Can we put them in
sure.
chat?
You can put them in chat and I'll answer at the last. What I mentioned is
Okay.
just take note of Reddit. Take a notebook or something where you have questions. Just note it down, and all could be answered. Because what happens is most of the people might have similar questions, so I'll have to repeat the answer again and again. and have a notepad, digital, like whatever you want, the way you want. Just note down your questions, and we will have 15 minutes of Q&A.
So we'll put all the questions in chat so we can take it from there, okay?
Absolutely, I can do. Share my screen now. So guys, for the next 30 to 40 minutes, I want everyone to be attentive. This is one of the most important topics with respect to, you might say, your future endeavors or your interviews or whatever you say. This question is definitely asked in the interviews, and I'm going to explain you what all these things are, and I'm going to also show it to you what where is and how does it make a difference as well. So when it comes to incident life cycle, we have 7 stages to be precise. That will start. We have stage number 1, which is planning, stage number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So in stage number 1, what we do is, in planning stage, we need to decide what all integrations we would be doing or what all type of integrations. So the first stage where you will be doing on paper as in, you will take a note. Okay, so for my use case to work, I would need Office 365. I need to integrate EDR. I need to integrate WAF. I need to integrate firewall. So this is where you are taking a note, or is, trying to draw a blueprint of what all integrations are required, what use cases I need to put, use cases, and then let's say, for example, what all permissions need to be there. As I mentioned, XOR works on API, so what all API permission needs to be there for the integration to work. So I'll just type integration to work. So all these things are done in the planning stage, is where, moreover, it is like cooking. So before you start cooking, you see to it that you have the cylinder full, you have the stove in a working condition, you have the vegetables cut properly, the pan required, and what all ingredients you want, you keep it ready, right? So that's called as planning. You're planning for something. So that's the same way is called as planning. Simple and easy task. Now something called is this stage number 2. Sorry. Something called as stage number 2, which is called as defining an incident. So when I say define an incident, most of the time you will be asked the question, can I use SOAR as a SIEM solution? I repeat, you might have, you will be asked a question that can you use SOAR as a SIEM solution? Answer is, it's not recommended to use SOAR as SIEM solution, because the reason or the main thing for which you would use a XOR or SOAR is to reduce the mean time to resolution. And mean time to resolution is very sensitive for high and critical severity incidents. For the medium and the low severity incidents, even your analyst can perform actions on the same solution itself. But to avoid any data spillage or any kind of lateral movement, data exfiltration from the high severity incidents, is why you use an XOR. So the answer is, you can use it, but then the XOR will get overwhelmed to perform actions. So it's recommended to use only the ones which need, which are very sensitive to the mean time to response. So what do we mean by define an incident into the XOR? So by defining an incident to XOR means I need to figure out what all fields would be considered as a triggering point of my incident. I repeat, we need to identify which all fields in the log sent to the XOR would be used as a triggering point of an incident. For example, I have O365 log. In O365, let's say I have called something called as phishing. So in XOR, when I configure that only the logs having the type as phishing needs to be filtered, that is where I'm trying to define an incident. If I take one more example, WAF. In WAF, let's say I have SCV as critical. SCV stands for severity, and uh, my source IP is a botnet. So whatever log I have received from WAF, let's say it has a field called as severity critical, and it is having the source IP as second base source IP as botnet. Then it will be satisfied an incident. So defining an incident only means how do you classify yourself, not yourself as in your organization classifies any event as high or critical. Based on that, you can define an incident. Until now, any questions only related to this?
I have a question related to planning stage.
Mm-hmm.
Answer that. Yeah. So can you define that? I mean, I got what a define an incident means. Like, what do we consider an incident basically? But what do we do in the planning
Mm-hmm.
stage exactly?
So planning stage, for example, now you for O365. So whenever you integrate O365, you need to have API permissions. What all API permissions you need? So for API permissions, you might need. Do you need read or write or all? Which account you will create, in which tenant you will create? So all these pre-discussions is in a planning stage. That
So
yes,
you
we have
mean,
decided.
planning is like like basically setting up the platform as per the organization
Yes,
standard, right?
standards. Yeah, as I mentioned, right? If let's say if you're planning to cook, so you don't you let's say if you on the burner and then you don't start cutting the vegetables, you'll keep everything ready, right? You know that you're going to do something. You're going to cook, let's say, a dish. So you'll keep everything ready. Your spices, your vegetables, or whatever it is. You just keep everything planned and ready. For example, you're going for a vacation trip where whenever you plan a trip, which means, okay, I want to stay in this hotel, I'll be visiting this place, I'll be doing this adventure. You list down those things. Same way is planning.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's go for the next stage. So now question arises, where do we define the incident? The place where you define the incident is called as classifier, which performs classification. It classifies or it separates, it decides, it takes a decision based on our inputs. So in classifier, I'll show it to you in next 10-15 minutes. In classifier, you can define that if my type field is phishing, then it is eligible for an incident. If my type is not phishing, it is not an incident. Next example. Classifier will create an incident if my WAF having the field severity as critical and source IP as botnet will allow it. If any of one is not satisfied, it won't allow it. So classifier is a place where we actually configure that this should be an incident. So classifier decides incident based on configuration. If I want to summarize this decides. Classifier is like a security guard of our building. Not building, I say it's a company. If you have the ID card, he will allow you. If you don't have the ID card, he won't allow. So this ID card means that you will have your company's logo, your image, your name in the back. That provides some emergency contact number, office address, XYZ things. So that is an identification or a proof that, okay, you have these things, you are allowed to go inside. Same way, classifier is like this, is a similar way. It checks whether whatever fields are considered to have X value. So whenever I say fields, it is always the left hand side, guys. It's a term for JSON. So whenever I use keys, field is the left hand side, values is on the right hand side always. So if any of your fields or keys is having the value configured to be an incident, only those are allowed, else those are not allowed. Now, let's say I have received an incident and classifier has been configured, it has come inside. Now, I'll give you a small example for the next thing. Okay, I'll just draw here. Okay. So my incident has come in. So if I want to define a very raw log, please don't go by technicality. You have the log ID, then you have the date timestamp, you have SRC, some IP address here, then you have DST, some IP address here, then you have S port number, then you some number here, D port number. Now, let's say this is coming in from firewall and from WAF. Let's say I have an ID, date timestamp. It is source. I have an IP source, IP, I'll keep source IP. Then I have destination IP. Some is there. Then it is SRC port, some value, and DST port, some value. Imagine these are two different type of logs coming in from WAF and firewall respectively. If you observe one thing, the field which is SRC here in my firewall is source IP in WAF. The field which is DST in firewall is destination IP is in WAF. Source, the one which is S port, it's SRC port, D port, and DST port. So imagine, because these are coming from raw logs and we can't alter that. Let's say, imagine if we use these, if we start using these fields into our playbooks and uh, in the incident and pre-processing in a playbook, then there will be a lot of, you can say, um, unnecessary crowd and garbage, is because you'll have to remember each and every time, okay, for WAF I have to use this field, for firewall I have to use this field, for EDR I have to use this field. So there's a lot of ambiguity which creates, and to make it, you know, anonymous and uniformity across all, something called as mapper. So what does mapper do is, on the left hand, you have an XOR field created, for example, IP. So what you will do is, you will have a mapper for WAF. So in that, you will have a mapper for WAF. So in that, what you will do is, you will map, I'll just type here, IP equals source IP. And let's say I have another mapper for firewall, where IP equals SRC. Now I don't need to remember that for WAF, which is the IP field, or which is for firewall, which is the IP source IP field. I will use the mapper, because since I have mapped the values, I can now use the mapped variables wherever I want. Mapping the values is the work of mapper. I will now use the field IP wherever I want to work on IP addresses related to WAF and firewall. This is my, let's say, for example, classification mapping. To draw a line, too much of thing here. Let me see if I can draw a line. Okay, pre-processing. So when I say pre-processing, is where, if you want to filter out before creating an incident. So filter out means, let's say, for example, you have a use case of a person logging in from any country other than India. You have a use case, and you have configured a classifier for that, and you have mapped the username, the IP, the machine name, the content, everything. And you got to know that your marketing team is visiting, let's say, Dubai for some official work. Now there are two scenarios. You can't remove, the classifier, you can't remove the mapper, because you want to detect and to process any malicious or any suspicious activity as per the use case, which is logging from outside India. But you have a condition here that some of your team members or company people are visiting out of India for some work. And what you will do? You will add a temporary exception or temporary allowed thing, or you will exclude them from something. So excluding temporarily without disturbing the classifier and mapper is done in the pre-processing. So what I will do is, I will create a pre-processing rule. To give an example, that if my username colon is whatever, it's A, B, C, whatever the name is, and SRC location, NE stands for not equal to India, then don't create an incident. So it is which field, what is the condition, and what is the action. So this is done in pre-processing rules, which I'm going to show it to you in something. Any doubts in classification mapping and pre-processing, guys, before we could start with the last stage?
Yes, I have a question.
Mhm.
So, like we already, SIM already normalized the logs. So why we need the raw logs here? Like,
So the parsing is done in SIEM solution, right? Whenever you
Hmm.
forward the logs, you don't forward the parse logs. You forward the raw logs to the source solution. It's recommended to forward the logs to the raw logs to the source solution, because here you can map the fields the way you want. Because then you'll have to define the parsing rules again and again in the SIEM solution.
But that is
I don't.
job of same, right? Why we need like SOAR, as I know, SOAR like typically don't work on raw logs. It take the logs from SIM only because SIM is doing all those things. If you have SIM and SOAR.
Okay, in that scenario, let's say if I take, I'll come to the question at the last because it's a very good question. Just hold for it. Any other questions, guys, other than that?
Is him forwarding the alerts actually or the logs? So there's some confusion.
Questions related to this only, guys, please.
Yeah, this only, right? Mapping and classification, as you said.
Logs.
Yeah, so you said that the raw logs
So
will be
logs
passed.
as in, yeah, raw logs as in the some tool designate that as an alert, some tool designate as a log. So any event generated in your log source is an log.
Yeah, but
So all those logs are
the
forwarded
logs
in.
will not
Yeah,
come to SOAR, right?
it will come. You have something called as API integration.
Yeah, so then if the logs are coming, they will be passed, right? They'll be already, the passing will be done at the SIM
Yeah,
end.
parse. So in that scenario, normally what happens is if you parse, then the response actions, how will you perform the response actions? If you want to, let's say, block the IP, so you will have to have two integrations. One is SIM solution, one is actual log source for the response actions.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to say is if the, alerts are coming, so, or I mean to say logs are coming, the logs will be passed
Mhm.
at the SIM, not at the SOAR, right?
No, the log. So you don't need SIM in between. If you are very keen that you want to only work on the incidents raised by SIM solution, go for it. You can integrate SIM directly. But most of the people, what they do is they want the freedom to work on the type of incidents they want. So they directly, most of the customers, they integrate the log source directly because you can directly interact with the log source. You don't, if you have SIM in between, let's say if you want to do any enrichment, any kind of a deep search, any kind of a threat search, you don't need, SIM won't do that for you.
Mm.
Only the log source will do for that for you.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's say my pre-processing condition is satisfied and I have provided the exception. Then there is where we have the incident created. An incident, once created, we have an option to run a playbook as well. So playbook is nothing but uh, order of the task the way we want it to be executed. I'm going to show it to you that as well. So once a playbook is run, we could have a lot of actions. We could perform enrichment, deep search, threat hunt, response action. That could be your block IP, block URL, isolated endpoint, disable the user, enable the user. What all actions you have, you can perform all via API. Once the playbook is run, is something called as post processing. So in post processing, what we do is we, uh, let's say for example, we want to send the incident report, whatever incident we created here. If you want to send an incident report, this incident report, then we have uh, we can create that as well as the post inc report. And in scenarios, let's say you have your Jira or ITSM tool or BMC Remedy, any of your ITSM tool integrated, and you have an incident created in the your ITSM tool, so you can update or close or whatever the status is, you can send it via the post processing stage into your ITSM tools. So let me now show you to you one by one what are all these things. Just to update you, stage number one and stage number two, I won't be able to show it to you because that's something on paper. I'll start from stage number three, which is my classification. Okay. So let me see first of all indications I have enabled. So I can fetch the raw logs. See if I can pull for Cortex file. See. Switching. Correct. 20 plus switch. So I hope guys you are able to see my screen. It should show incident classification editor. Visual guys?
Yes, sir. Visual.
Yes. Great. So so this is my classifier as we call, as I mentioned. And remember, our agenda here is to filter out the fields which we want to create an incident. Here we have multiple ways wherein we can pull the sample logs or logs for creating the classifier. First is pull from instance. For that, you will have to enable the integration, which I just showed it to you, which you are scrolling down various total, CrowdStrike, and Cura stuff. Select schema is where you'll have to choose a file where you have defined schema. And third is where you can go and upload a JSON file. So you might have a JSON file from any of your log sources. You can pick that up. You can pick that up and upload it here, and then all those fields will be generated. So classifier mainly has three different sections. The leftmost, middle top, middle bottom, and is the right side. So the left side will show you the raw logs, the actual raw logs which are being fetched from the log source. So sample. So this is a sample, incident generator which the XOR has. It is for you guys to practice if you want to practice. So this has pulled. This is like a raw log which is there, and it has pulled 5 different events. If you see here, the number keeps on changing: 3 out of 5, 4 out of 5, and 5 out of 5. So all these are raw logs. Here, if you see, I have, so the middle top is where you will select the field. The field for which value you want the incident to be created. For example, if I let's say select face, if you see here, the face will display and it will give me the results. What is the result is there? Severity is there. So for the selected event, if I click on, I just clicked on the field is populated here and it will give me results. If you see properly, the field here becomes 2, value becomes 2. Here it is 3 because the severity is 3. Again 3 and again 2. So in the middle is where you select the field for which you want to create an incident. And for all the logs which you have fetched. So fetching the logs varies from log source to log source, but it is between 5 to 10. and not more than that. So whatever field you select, accordingly, the value at the top gives you the value of the current field selected or current log selected, but the value at the bottom gives you all the values unique, all the unique values which are present in all the logs. For example, if I, let's say, select name, so in all the logs I have phishing, malware, and unclassified. So let's switch one by one. If I go to the fourth one, it is unclassified, changed here. I have malware, and phishing. So if you see, out of 5, I have only unique values are taken. Phishing is there, malware. So second, third was malware. So it took only one value. Fourth is classified, and fifth is malware. So there were 3 malwares, 1 phishing, 1 unclassified. So out of 3 malware, it did give 3 different values. It gave me unique value. I hope this much you have understood. On the right hand side, these are incident types which are present in the XOR. You can create your own incident type. I'll show you to you. The advantage of having an incident type is, if you select the incident type, first, whatever are the fields mapped that assigned to an incident type will run the playbook automatically, and will run the pre-processing script automatically as soon as the incident type receives the relevant field. So how do I do that? For example, this is my phishing. So I do have a phishing. Yeah, I do have phishing. So what I'll do is I'll just pick this field and leave it here. It's clearly drag and drop. Now I have malware. So let me see, where is my malware? I have malware here. Just pick, then drop. Then I have a thing. So this is unclassified. I don't know what to do with unclassified. So direct unclassified events to whatever you want. So let's say, for example, I want it to map to something. Let's say a job. So now what does this mean? If any event having a name of sample incident unclassified will run the incident type called as job. Let's not confuse you guys. Let me put some other name so that I'll put hunt. If your field is having, if your log is having a field called name, and the name is having a value called as sample incident unclassified, then the hunt incident type is triggered. What it will do, we have, I'll show you, an incident type will have a playbook and a pre-processing script assigned to it, which will run automatically. So you don't have to wait. So one of the reasons why the mean time to response less is because of the incident type. Similar way, if in my log coming in from sample incident generator is having a name of sample incident hyphen malware, then my malware incident type will be triggered. Similar way, if my log is having a field called as name, and the name is having a value of sample incident phishing, then the phishing incident type would be configured. So let me guys show you to you how does the incident type look like. So I showed you phishing, right? You can create duplicate ones or you can keep it as it is. So I hope it is a bit great. Can you guys see the ones which are graded out? In the default playbook, you might see phishing generic V3 is written. The checkbox of playbook automatic is also set. There is a layout of how it should look like and a post-processing script as well. Pre-processing is a part of the layout itself. So post-processing script as well. So the advantage is that the moment I assign to this incident type, all these are executed automatically. Any questions on classification?
Yes.
Can you
So
please repeat? I couldn't understand.
Sorry, one by one, please. Yeah.
Yeah, can you please repeat this? Like, I couldn't understand it.
Okay. Like, which section did you didn't understand?
Yeah, the entire thing, like, how you do the mapping and all.
Okay. Okay. So whenever you want to create a classifier, it is you have to first select the incident, the mechanism to pull the data. You can select the way you want. As soon as you pull the incident, the fields would be populated on the left hand side. The fields varies
So,
as per the pull mechanism.
uh, yeah, I'm sorry. So the incident, where from we'll pull it?
Sorry,
Where from we'll pull the instance?
it will pull from the integration what you select here.
Yeah,
Let's say
so
if you want to create a
integration, it
classifier
can be,
CrowdStrike, yeah.
okay. Yeah, so it
So
can be
first you
like
have to
any
enable
tool,
the
like say,
anything.
yeah, how do we enable
So
that? Like, how do we do the integration?
go to the marketplace, install that. You'll have to install that, and you have as in like every integration is different. So Virus Total works with API. So whenever you click that, you have a prompt option there. Let's say, for example, you click here, you have steps on the right hand side. You have to fill these fields. Once you fill these fields, click on test. Will give you test results integrated.
Okay, okay,
As simple as that. Yeah.
okay. There's no
So
like
you
Python or anything required, right?
sorry, which one?
I mean, there's no integration is done like on the console itself.
Yes. So for that on the, let's say if you have Wi-Fi firewall, you have to create an API key on the source side. You copy paste that API in the XOR and your integration is done.
Okay, okay, okay. Got it. Yes.
Yeah. Next question, guys.
Yeah. Now,
so
once we select the instance,
Mhm. Select the instance. You will
yeah,
see
once we
you see
select
the
the,
you will see the fields on the right hand side, left hand side. Sorry. So you have to select the field which field you want. So I selected the name as the field. If you can select the type is also as a field. If I select type, so I have multiple types. So as per the type you want, you can map that to the incident type. So here what I've done is I've mapped.
I have one question. So this XOR is
Yeah,
basically a cloud native solution, or is it can we can deploy it in
both,
on-prem as well?
both. As
Both.
of
Okay.
now, it as before six like until the version of 6.x, it's both.
Uh-huh.
But post that, it is only cloud based. So earlier, I
Okay.
think so. Last year in July or October, they have discontinued the community edition. So you'll have
Mm-hmm.
to request Sulabh and he will give you access to this console. You have to practice here only.
Okay, and one more question. So there are two ways of integration, as you told. One is we forward all the logs to SIEM and SIEM logs forwarded to this one. Another one is we integrate
Yes,
directly device from to this SOAR.
correct.
So let's say we want to block any IP on firewall, considering an
Mhm,
example. So
mhm.
that will only be achieved if device is directly integrated via API towards this,
Absolutely
right?
correct, sir. Absolutely
Okay,
correct.
and if we integrate SIEM logs, that basically response process will not be achieved.
Yes, you will only be able to create an incident. If you want to do any enrichment,
Yes, yes.
enhancement, and
Okay.
sort of a
Hmm.
response action is null and void there.
Yeah, if we need to respond, then we need to have device onboarded on the, I mean,
Directly
integrated
integrated,
with it.
yes. Because SIM won't take that action on behalf of.
Correct, correct. And I have one more question. So, like, SIEM has, license based on, especially Splunk, it is based on events per second. So, how
Mhm.
license is there in this SOAR?
There is no license. You
Okay,
can
we need to
integrate
just
as
get
much as
okay.
you can integrate how much you want. You can make 1,000, 10,000, and you can integrate how much you want. But it
Okay.
is if you take a cloud, if you take an on-prem, then it is if you take an on-prem, it is a PaaS service, and now
Uh-huh.
on-prem they don't provide. But now if you go for everything is SaaS based, you can integrate whatever you want.
Got it. And Yeah, that answers. Thank you.
Yeah, next question, guys.
Yeah, so can you please repeat that? I was there, you said you want to map this malware with.
Yeah, so here, so let me first redo all these things. Exit. So let's say, for example, I have selected the name. I want the name field. If the name is having phishing, it should trigger a phishing incident type. If it's malware, the malware incident type. So the moment I click here, I will see the value of the current field. That the field name will see at the top, the value at the bottom. Here it is showing me phishing because I have selected this field. If I change my field, you will see the different value of the same log. Overall, whatever fields I have here, you will see below. Now I'll have to map this field to the specific incident type so that whenever name is having a malware, it should go and run a malware incident type. Whenever name is having sample incident phishing, it should go and run a phishing incident type. And the reason for incident type I
Yes,
just mentioned because it will run my pre-processing, layout, post-processing, and playbook. All will run automatically in the mentioned order of incident lifecycle.
okay.
Now let me quickly show you guys the mapper. Mapper is even easier since you guys have worked with. Okay, now if you see here, you will see options of two. One is incoming mapper and one is outgoing mapper. Outgoing mapper are only utilized mainly for the ITSM tools where you want to update something. If you want to send something outside, that could be your Jira, ServiceNow, and the other incident, ITSM tools. Let's say, for example, um, your like what if you want to update something, you have to map the fields of your ITSM with what you could say with your XOR. So, for example, if you see here, I have a CrowdStrike Falcon outgoing mapper. So, outgoing map, let me see if I can fetch. No, okay, I think so. This would be enough. So, this is my outgoing mapper, which means I have to send something outside. So in CrowdStrike, my incident is created. I want to update the incident in CrowdStrike. I don't want that I'll come on the XOR, create an incident here or work on the incident here, and then I'll go to the CrowdStrike and go and close the incident here. I don't want that. I want to automate. So what I'll do is I'll use something called as outgoing mapper, which is selected as in my incident type automatically. Then what I'll do is if there are multiple different schemas for detection, incident, OFP, and on-demand scan. So mainly, if you see all either status, tags, resolved, updated, closed, all these things will you only see here. Status is the field, on-demand status. So wherever is where I want to update something, maybe let's say you have a WAF create incidents. So you might have Darktrace. So Darktrace also creates its own incidents. It's an NDR and email gateway solution, email detection and response solution. So EMDR. So in that you need something which is going out, which should be mapped outside, just to update the status and all those kind of things. If let's say let's say I create an incoming mapper. Incoming mapper as in the fields which are coming inside the XOR. So I can do that as well. So let me just do sample if I can pull. So let's say if I can map the incident type as well or directly as well. So let's say I want the severity should be a part of the severity field. So I'll go for severity. You guys see here, right? The field, the value is automatically picked up by the mapper. So henceforth, wherever I will use this keyword of severity, it will pick this value only. See here, it got changed to 3. The value got changed to 4 again. Just keep an eye on here. So I don't need to remember the field severity as. And even if I want, I can change the path as well. So example, I can choose the path severity. So let me just redo what I did. Cancel. I clicked on the data path. Let's say I've selected the field severity. Just now keep an eye on this external severity. Okay, I'm just changing the box. Is this the moment this changed? It became 2, 1, 4. So the way you want, you can map the fields. Now, let's say for example, I want to in some task I want to check whether my if external severity is equal to 3. So sorry, if my severity is equal to 3, I don't want to use this keyword. I will use this keyword because this would be so I can use the same field for any multiple integrations as well. Because at times when you work with Playbook, right, you work with multiple log sources. For example, let's say if you have find a phishing email. So phishing email might have your source SMTP server, your DKIM, DMARC, SPF. It might have indicators, maybe malicious URL IP, all those things. So you'll perform enrichment with virus total, URL host, different log source. You'll block on the WAF firewall, different log source, proxy, different log source. If the user is found to be compromised, we'll go and block AD, different log source. So when you work with different log source, having a unified key is really important. And that's where we have this called as mapping. Let me show you one more example. If I could see some long. This will be the last classification mapping will be the last topic, guys, for today because we're already 10:15. Yeah, finally, thank God I got something. So if you see here, right, I got type, mailbox, ID, labels, and everything. Now I'll have to figure out what should be, my, you can say, mapper fields. So let me see here. If I want to from is my sender. I don't have a from field. See if I have something in phishing. Email IP sender. Map. No map. Great. I'll get a free freedom. So let's say I might have username. Okay. Now, if you see here, let's say I want to map sender to source username, for example. So what I'll do is I'll click on choose data path. Come on the right hand side, click on from. It is done. So if I keep, so all will have a same field. The subject is changing. So let me see if I can have subject as a field, email subject. Click on the field, subject. So if I keep on, if you see, right, if I keep on changing, the subject also somewhat changes. Let me see if I can map date. Open date. So what I'll do is open date I can map with this date. So if you just have a look at the date, so it will keep on changing. 934755. So accordingly, now if I want to access the field of date, I don't need to remember the field name. I can only automatically go and use the ticket open date field wherever I want. So that's it. Now we are open to Q&A, guys. So Hilal, I saw your question. If virus total is A, URL host is C, domain is A, it will, so what is the verdict now? It depends on the verdict. So if my virus total and domain X is having A, and if they have different verdicts, let's say for example, bad and good, then the worst verdict would be taken into consideration. If both have bad and if both have same, then any would be taken. But let's say if source liability is same, yeah, I'll come. So if the source liability is same, then the worst would and the verdict is different, then the worst verdict would be taken into consideration. I hope that answered the question, Hilal.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, Hussein, the difference between SOP and Playbook is SOP is where it's a kind of flow chart where you have done in your schooling during your schooling days, right? You might have done created flow charts. So that's called as SOP, wherein you define what should be my input, what will be my task. In the task, what will I fetch the data out of those data? What will I enrich and all those stuff? It's more of, you can say, off paper thing wherein you make notes, and your playbook is where you actually create the task into the SOAR. So that's the main difference. SOP is a documentation, and the technical conversion or technical transformation of that documentation is playbook. Hussein.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, guys. Now the forum is open to question, guys. Let's start. So many. Everyone had questions. Now no one is asking question. Either I'm a good teacher or you guys are sleeping. Either of the options.
Basically, we have been used to like asking the questions real time. So today you said like we'll take them at
Yes,
the end.
because Sulabh sir actually asked me, because uh, this was being requested that please take the question at the last, don't take it with. So he requested himself. Or else normally I take it, but there are a few feedbacks from different batches that you know because sir takes questions, he doesn't explain the topic. Such feedback has
Oh,
been shared.
you are right. See, now if I have questions on the mapper, right? So I will ask you the question. You'll have to repeat that entire thing again, right? So
Yeah, that's fine. I can
when
teach you
you were
1,000 times. That's
explaining,
fine.
yeah, that's correct. So when you were explaining the mapper topic, so at that point of time, if I had a small question, if I would ask that question real time, so that makes things easier
I
rather than asking
I
them in bulk
Yeah,
at
you
once.
can share the feedback this to Sulabh, and maybe if he conveys me, I'll take questions in it.
Okay, no problem.
So that's the reason I asked you make notes of your questions so that you guys can ask me.
Mhm.
Any more questions, guys? We have 40. So we have 40 in the house. If you are not able to ask, you can type in the chat. I understand. Yeah, I'll
How
still be
many
here.
classes? Yeah, how many classes it will be there next for
So
Cortex?
total we are gonna have 10 to 12 hours. So today it is 2 hours. So you can say more 10 hours approximately.
Okay.
So I'm like next week I'm planning to have maybe 3 hours class. Let's see how the time suffices.
So are we going to going to understand the playbook and everything in these like in
Everything.
no, not just the upper or high level, or is it going to be more
No, I'm
technical?
gonna so because let me tell you about the job side as well. Very few companies are there. I don't know if you have ever interviewed. Very few companies are there who actually give you can say error causing playbook and ask you to resolve that. And for that, you need to know that what is the error, where should I see, how do I resolve that. So what? So I see. If you ask me that create a WAF playbook, not possible because I'll have to buy a WAF, get a license one. So I'll teach you what all tasks are there, how you can use the automation and those things. But the ones which are freely available, like Virus Total or the open source, and I think so. Sulabh has a few firewalls as well, so we can go like we'll check. We will go and block a IP in the firewall. We can all do things which we can do in our limit and in our scope. But if you just need to multiply that and you implement that into the larger scale in the organization. So yeah.
Yeah, because my motive is not to just clear the interview or to clear the interview. I have to, I want to implement all these things into my work
You
actually.
can.
I'm not taking
So
these classes for interview purpose.
yes, you would be able to achieve. You'll get the experience once you start working by yourself. So uh, it's been for me. It's 4 years I'm working on this tool. Still, I don't call myself as expert because every scenario is a new scenario. Customer comes up with every new questions, new requirements. It is how you implement. So one trick which I would like to give you at the first class itself and which I am using since the day I have started is whenever you work with any automation, by automation I mean the playbook, uh, keep imagine in your mind how the output will look like. If you know how the output will look like, then only you would be able to perform the automation task. If you know the objective that, okay, I want to perform IP enrichment and then block on the firewall. So for IP enrichment, what I need bias integration and I need to know the command to enrich the indicator. When the enrichment is done, I need to know which field will have the verdict value. Then I'll have to put a conditional. If my verdict is, let's say, malicious, so I have to put a conditional task. Once that is done, once it is satisfied, it should go and block on the firewall. So what I'll do, I need to there are so XOR gives you open documentation on the on the web page itself and also in the integration. So which command can be used to block the IP? So I'll go and search that IP, block that see the command. Then once I know the command, you need to provide some inputs, IP, D zone, Z zone, all those inputs need to provide it. Once I provide the IP, my IP is blocked. So my end goal was to block the IP. So if you know the steps wherever you want to go, your work would be really easy when it comes to playbook creation. I'll be here for the next 6 minutes. If you guys want to stay, you can stay for the questions. If you want to take the day off, please feel free. But I'll stay for the next 6 minutes.
So quick question, this is Manjula. You said
Yeah.
there is an automated actions, right? So you're saying whenever there is a malicious IP, we check in the virus total. So these also will be automated. You mean to say that we integrate uh, virus total or URLs,
Yes.
all
Yes.
those
Yes.
within the SOAR, and then SOAR performs a search based on all that and displays the results to
Yes.
us?
Yes. So SOAR is your intermediator. Don't need to go here and there. The only tedious task is to integrate. Once you integrate, your work is done. So people left. I'll give you a quick demo. Let me see if console allows me. Okay. This IPs list. So I get one of the just copy. Okay. Something called as playground. Sure. So let's say, for example, I want to find out the enrichment in the virus total. So the command for that is IP enrichment. if you see here the IP field, I'll explain all this, but sorry. Okay. See. Using firestore. It's enabled and good. Yeah. You see here, right? I got 0 reputation, 1 out of 9 positive. Let's do the same thing in Aristotle. 1 out of 94. 1 out of 94. So don't need to go there. So the only task for me was to log in into the Aristotle, get an you once you sign into the account, in under the account name you'll get an API. I just need to configure the API. Now let's say for example, this IP, let's say for example, for me even one score is malicious. I have and let's see. Don't have any file stop. Don't have any file. Let's say I have Gmail, right? So mail. So let's say if I want to send an email, okay, with this IP address. So who would be subject would be IP. This is malicious. There is no other red star icon. Let me see if this sends. Sure, Gmail is. So playground is like a what you can say isolated environment. Check whatever gave me. Okay, user data accepted. So the integration needs to be renewed. So you can so that's how you. Let's say if you want to send an email, even you can send the email from the automation itself. So that's how you are. Small example of what you can do. I hope Manjula that answered your question.
Yeah, I did get the answer, but that raised another question actually. So how does the data sensitivity works here? So if there is a malicious file and that is being checked in the virus total or any external site, uh, that that is a privacy issue, right? That data is being shared on all the virus total, all the external
Yes.
sites.
Yes.
So that becomes a privacy incident, right? Rather than security incident.
No. So then how will if you don't want to perform enrichment? See, wherever you go and perform enrichment. So first of all, the verdicts which are given by virus total are not by the people shared by us. It's by the security vendors who share from their own threat intel sources. So if you go and perform a search, it is only to a specific account. It is not shared with virus total. Unless and until that IP is a part of any vendor's threat intel source list, then it could be seen. But normally, like example, if a malicious IP is identified, how could that be in privacy? That's a threat, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, guys, we are done with the class. Thank you so much. From the next class, we'll be working on the real hero of this tool. It has a playbook. So we'll go across the playbooks and we'll have a discussion. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. Have a nice weekend. Enjoy. Have fun. See you next week. Bye bye.
Thank you.